Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're here today on the weekend edition of the Cabral Concept. These are our Cabral House Calls where we answer our community's questions every Saturday and every Sunday. As I've been saying, we're about 12 weeks behind on all of your questions. And I don't like to use that word behind, so I need to come up with a new one. But simply put, we've had so many questions come in, and we answer about 12 every single weekend, 6 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday, that, they build up and the queue begins to get longer and longer. But of course, you can get your question answered every single day by submitting it at cabralsupportgroup.com, and you'll get your typically same-day support Monday through Friday from our amazing coaching team. All right, we're going to dive into today's questions. If you want to follow along, I believe today is episode 2416. So if you want to follow along and read along with the questions, head on over to stephencabral.com/2416. And if you haven't picked up your copy of my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, definitely recommend doing so either for you or someone you love, maybe even a coworker. The book is now completely free. I pay for the printing of the book, and you just pay for the shipping. That's literally it. I pay about 50% of the cost. You pay about 50% of the cost, which is the shipping. If you don't like free book, that's okay. It's still available on Amazon. So that is that. All right. Let's get into some serious questions here, all joking aside. The first question is from JB, and JB says, "Hi, Dr. Brawl. I take the daily fruit and vegetable blend, and I see it contains camu, amongst other fruits, which is high in vitamin C. I didn't see vitamin C information in the supplement facts, and I was curious, what would you estimate the daily levels, so what's the value of vitamin C that you're getting per day? Would you estimate that it's more than 100% of the daily recommended intake? Thanks for making a great product." All right, thank you for writing in, JB. And let me give you a little bit of a background on labeling. So if a product is completely food-based, you do not need to label the fats, the proteins, and the different vitamin levels and all of that. And the reason is that it's a whole food, and the product that you're getting is actually a whole food. So our daily fruit and vegetable blend is 22 organic fruits, vegetables, and superfoods. And the nice thing is, literally in one scoop, you're getting all of that. So you're getting massive variety in your daily diet. So if you're someone like me, okay, I get about 2 cups of fruit every day, and I get about 5 to 6 cups minimum of vegetables every day. So I'm doing 3 cups at lunch, and I'm doing about 3 cups at dinner, and then I'm doing 2 cups of fruit typically with my smoothie in the morning. So I get my 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables very, very easily that way. That's how I like to do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but that's how I do it. But for the most part, I'm eating broccoli every single day, and then I'm doing a couple other different types of vegetables. So I'm not getting the wide variety. That's why I do, and a lot of people use the daily fruit and vegetable blend. Okay, so when we're looking though at your vitamin C, we don't break down that product to look at, okay, what are we getting from vitamin C from this? Because you have to keep in mind is when we're looking, so I'll give you a really good example. If you're watching this on video, I'm just grabbing our daily nutritional support shake. So some people use this every single day. This is obviously what I use for my vitamins and minerals. And when I'm looking at the vitamin C in this, it has 500 milligrams in it. So it's a great big dose of vitamin C. Now, it comes from ascorbic acid. People sometimes say, well, why does it come from ascorbic acid? Well, because ascorbic acid is the most abundant form of vitamin C. It has the strong protective outer layer if you look at the actual molecular structure of vitamin C. And you're not eating daily nutritional support or good nutritional product in a vacuum. So people are like, oh, it doesn't get absorbed. Of course it gets absorbed. The vast majority, meaning 99% of all vitamin C research is on ascorbic acid. So we have to just kind of slow down that argument there. Plus, again, we don't eat in a vacuum. During the course of a day, I'm getting, like you said, daily fruit and vegetable blend with a camu. I'm getting fruit. I might have some mango in my smoothie. I might have some banana. I'm getting things with vitamin C throughout the day, my greens. So that all that whole food based is being used in conjunction with the ascorbic acid. So all that to say is that if it's a whole food product, an apple, a banana, or whatever, you're not going to see the actual nutrition layout of that. And so for me to even venture a guess, I wouldn't even venture a guess. But let me just look at this. Kimu, vitamin C dosage. And I don't typically look these things up, but I'd like to try to do it for you. And we'll see if we can, find out a particular dosage for you. Yeah, tough to say the exact dosage. Probably somewhere around 50 milligrams, but I can't tell you for sure, and so I wouldn't want to say that. So the last thing I'll say, and just because again, I hate when I can't give you an exact answer, is that you don't necessarily eat or use a product like Daily Fruit and Vegetable Blend to be your multivitamin or to get your exact vitamin, minerals, electrolytes for the day. I love whole food. That's why I made the product, okay? But I use it in conjunction with the daily nutritional support. So I know that all my vitamins and minerals are covered for the day. And then, yes, I'm getting the wide variety of phytochemicals, phytonutrients from the rainbow of colors in the Daily Fruit and Vegetable Blend. Okay, long answer. Apologies that I can't give you the exact amount because there isn't that exact amount. All right, Tina's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. Thank you so much for everything you do. You are a blessing to all of us and greatly appreciated. Thank you, Tina. So my son is 7 years old and was diagnosed with methylmalonic acidemia on his newborn screening. His body cannot properly break down protein, and he will have to be more of a vegetarian. But the problem is he has always been a super picky eater and doesn't like vegetables. Since he started eating solids, the doctor told me to feed him what he will eat. With this condition, he can't go a day without eating, or he can go into a metabolic crisis. I've tried almost everything to get him to eat vegetables, and he wants nothing to do with it. What can I do to get him healthier? The doctors say it's just a stage that some kids go through, and he will grow out of it. Thank you again. Okay, so let's get right into this answer. I have never personally worked with anyone with methylmalonic acidemia, but I know what it is. This is a difficulty. Methylmalonic comes from B12. So B12 means there's B12 in a lot of different types of meat, right? So, or I should say protein in general. So the issue is the body has an inborn error with being able to enzymatically break down that methylmalonic acid or that B12. So sure, more vegetarian-based diet, it's certainly some proteins and fats are going to be just fine. You're going to work with your doctor specifically on this. Of course, I have to give you now my medical disclaimer. I can't provide any medical advice, any medical treatment plans, cures, or diagnosis. All right. So what can we do though? If we're talking about vegetables, well, not a whole lot of B12 and a lot of vegetables, right? So what we can do is we can say, well, again, this is not the way to go. And again, I'm just throwing this out there, but could you, again, you can ask your doctor, use something like the Daily Fruit and Vegetable Blend, which gets the palate a little bit more used to having vegetables in just a easy to use form like the crisp apple variety. And then what I did with my daughters is I'm always having them eat some. So again, kids in general don't always eat a ton of vegetables, but they usually find some ones that they like. So for example, my first daughter doesn't love broccoli. She used to, and she kind of got all broccolied out. Now she'll eat lots of cucumbers, orange peppers. We'll do all sorts of other veggies, and she loves those, and she eats quite a bit. Both of my daughters eat a lot of fruit as well, so they're getting a lot of their antioxidants through fruit and not just vegetables. And then my youngest daughter, she'll do a lot of broccoli. So every night, typically at dinner, we have broccoli and another type of vegetable. And so she is eating that. And then she has her other types of favorite veggies as well. So, I mean, I would go with a wide variety. And then I'd also do something to dip them in. So again, you're going to have to get specific nutrition-based advice from his registered dietitian. But typically, my daughters are dipping them either in a white bean dip, or they'll dip it in hummus or something like that. Olive oil they like to dip it in, which gives it another flavor. And that might help with your child as well. We put a little sea salt on the broccoli, a little olive oil. They love that, and so they'll eat that as well. So hopefully that's helpful to try to work some veggies in there. All right, Noelle's up next. Noelle says, hello. Thank you for all you do. I'm learning so much from your podcast in the short time since I've discovered it. I'm very grateful for the wisdom and resources you provide. My question is regarding recently discovered receding gum line on several teeth. I'm about 25 and I do not have a history of dental issues. I had a root canal in high school, but that's about it. Though I do have chronic pain and numbness and other random problems I've been working through for a decade. Bit of an alarming discovery. I've been scouring the internet attempting to discern how I might have caused this. What would be your primary recommendations to keep this from getting worse or to improve if possible? Okay, so the good news is this. I first was diagnosed with receding gums in my early 20s, like late teenage years, early 20s. All right, for me, like with my perfectionist-based mentality, which is not a good thing, I would like brush my teeth way too hard, and my gums started to recede a bit. But also my body was very inflamed. So Noelle, what I would do, and so here's the good news. I've never had to have surgery to fix receding gums. My gums have gotten better, and not totally, because again, I caused recession back in the day, but it's been more than 20 years. And so this is what to do. I mean, personally, if you have inflammation, if you have other issues, find out what's causing that. That's actually breaking down the gums as well. And then brush down with a soft toothbrush. So brushing the gums down into the teeth gently is a much better way of doing it. So, I mean, first and foremost, if you can run the Big Five, if you're not able to run the Big Five, maybe run the starter kit plus the inflammation test. That would be a nice one as well. And then start to work from there. Maybe the 21-day functional medicine detox if you don't have a specific protocol built for you. But what we need to do is get the body super healthy, because your gums are a sign of your health. They really are. Your gums and teeth are a sign of how things are going inside your body. All right. Thank you, Noelle, for writing in. Mallory's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. I submitted a question a couple of months ago about mold and fungus in my sinuses, and your answer helped me so much. Thank you. I had a couple of follow-up questions. I've struggled with mold and fungal and bacterial overgrowth since I was a child. 4 sinus surgeries and an almost constant antibiotics from the age of 4 to 12. I'm 28, and I just am now getting treatment for the root cause. Ochratoxin A, that's a mold marker for everybody else, was at 25 when I last tested in February. Are you able to help me have an idea as to how long I may be detoxing for? I would love to start a family soon, but I am currently seeing biofilm in my stool and urine every day, and it's been almost a year. I have pain in my lungs and anxiety while detoxing. I was strict on my diet for 2 months, but as I begin to introduce more foods, I feel pretty poor. My husband and I moved out of our 110-year-old home that had visible mold to a 10-year-old house. We did get the new house mold tested, and they assured us the house was mold-free. We have since found small amounts of mold in the pantry and kitchen. We also bought some things over from the old house that could have mold spores. Should we get rid of that clothing? Are small amounts of mold spores okay if I have a good air purifier? Okay, got it. All right. So if you, excuse me, if you know that you already tested high in mold, my opinion, this is what I would do for me. We're doing the CBO protocol. Then we're doing the mold protocol, okay? In between those, we're doing the intestinal cleanse, which has the binders in it. We're doing infrared sauna. We are making sure that we have a good air purifier in your home, that you're rotating through the rooms, okay? Or that you have 2, one in your bedroom and then one in your main living area, and you can rotate those as well. That you wash and treat anything with mold. So any fabric, anything has to be treated, whether you use borax or something else to just kill that mold. That's what you need to do so that you're not reinfecting yourself. So for me, again, CBO protocol, intestinal cleanse. Well, I'm doing the functional medicine detox to start because I have to open up those liver pathways. So I'm doing that, then the CBO protocol, then a 7-day functional medicine detox, open those pathways again, intestinal cleanse, the mold protocol. That total is only going to take you 3 to 6 months. Well, it's going to take you about 4 to 6 months to complete all of that. And I'd find it hard to believe that you are not a dramatically healthier person. So all my protocols are at stephencabral.com/shop. Again, you don't have to use what I use in my practice, but at least use it as a place to get started. Okay, that's what I recommend. All right. Thank you, Mallory, for writing in. And again, we're always here and happy to help. All right. Amy's up next. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the root cause protocol. Iron dysregulation caused by copper, magnesium, ceruloplasmin imbalance. And if you read the book, all right, so I'm not going to read the book name only because I'm not going to say anything negative, but I'm going to say something, and it'll be for you, Amy, so you'll know what I'm talking about. So, okay, let's talk about iron dysregulation. So you can have high iron, you can have low iron, or you can be within range. If someone's testing their iron, I like them to run their total iron binding capacity. That's TIBC. I like them to run their ferritin levels at a minimum. We can look at iron saturation levels. We can look at trans. So like there's a lot that we can look at, and all of those are great. But a minimum for me is TIBC, ideally saturation rate, but definitely ferritin, okay? So I need to see, is the iron there? And then I need to see, so I need to see with ferritin, is it there? Is it being used? And then I need to see, is it available? Okay. Now, then I'm running what's called a complete blood count. And I'm actually looking at red blood cells. I'm looking at hematocrit. I'm looking at means corporal. I'm looking at all the ones that tell me, is the iron doing what it's supposed to be doing to prevent anemia? So I'm looking at oxygen in those cells. All right. So complete blood count. I'm looking at, again, everything to do with oxygenation of the cells. Because if iron is good, but your oxygenation of your red blood cells is not good, then it's not an iron issue. So what could it be if it's not an iron issue? Could be copper, could be magnesium, could be calcium, could be vitamin C, could be B6, folate, which is B9 or B12. All right. So those are the main ones. Those are the main factors that regulate oxygenation of the red blood cells and or anemia. So when I know the author you're talking about, I know their work. The problem is some people get so wrapped up in a silver bullet for everything. So again, everything can be fixed by the carnivore diet. Everything can be fixed by not including more iron and just fixing copper levels. Or everything can be fixed by just drinking a specific type of vegetable juice, right? So we need to be really careful, or like everything is caused by one particular virus. So yeah, we need to be really careful with this. The human body is a lot more complex than that. And I understand when people read something and research something and they get results themselves with it, and maybe for a few clients, they start to see that, oh, this could be the fix for everyone in the world. And I'm here to tell you that it is not. If it was that simple, well, that would be amazing, right? But there is no silver bullet approach. Yes, there are issues with iron dysregulation because of cofactors not being where they should be. Copper and zinc, they're partners. Calcium, magnesium, they're partners, right? So we need to make sure that those things are where they need to be. And then micronutrients such as vitamin C, even selenium, but we won't get into that today, B12, B6, and folate are your cofactors as well. So while there's some truth to it, it by far is not the end-all be-all, and some people actually do need iron. They really do. Just like we talked about at the very beginning of our show with Tina, right? Tina with methylmalonic acidemia. People don't metabolize everything the same exact way, and that's just the truth. And so we have to, again, be gentle with all humans and realize that we're all a little bit different, and we have to take into account that bio-individuality. All right, one more question for the day, and that is from Anonymous. And Anonymous says, "Hi, Dr. Paul. I'm really interested in Ayurveda, and I was wondering if there's a histamine intolerance, or if there is histamine intolerance connected to the Pitta dosha based on the physical body type. If so, why are dry and astringent foods usually recommended for Pitta imbalance, such as beans, but not recommended when you have a histamine intolerance? I understand that these food lists should be not taken at face value, and there's a lot more complexity to Ayurveda in general, so I would love your input on it." I totally get what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Ayurveda, and that's why I've wanted to come out with an Ayurvedic course for quite some time, but I really have to put a lot of work into it. And the reason is that I have to break it down in bring it up to modern times, because it's very difficult to understand this amazing, by the way, it holds all the truths. It really does, but it's not apparent at first reading or second reading or maybe even seventh reading, right? But here's the thing. What Ayurveda does is it does not look at individual specific dis-ease states when it's talking about overall dosha diets. Okay, so for example, if we look at Pitta, what is Pitta? Okay, we're looking at heat, fire, water, right? So we're looking at that. What do we then do in order to pacify heat? Cooling foods, okay? What about to pacify the dampness or the wetness or the water? Well, we need drying foods then. So what do we get? Dry and astringent foods, right? So are beans part of that? Yes, they are. But beans, yeah, so let me get back to beans in 1 second. I'll talk about the histamines in 1 second. All right. So kapha, we've got the earth and the water. That's the Boston accent just snuck out right there. So what do? Okay, drying foods, less grounding foods, so lighter foods, right? For the earth, we need lighter instead of heavier. And that's the predilection. And then with Ayurveda, with Vata, we've got more of the air, the ether, and dryness. And so we have to be careful. We need weighted foods. We need grounding foods. And that's why oatmeal and things like that can be really great for the, and heating foods for Vata. All right. But back to Pitta. All right. So what are we going to do? Well, those are the foods that are typically recommended for the body type, the dosha, in order to keep it more balanced. But if there is an imbalance, a dis-ease within the body, some of those foods would actually then have to be shifted. Now, the interesting thing about beans is they are not a high histamine food. So what a lot of experts have done is said that beans are a high histamine food. It's not necessarily the case. So if you've listened to my first histamine podcast on the Cabral concept, I actually talk about 3 different categories, okay? So there's high histamine foods, dry, aged, or spiced. That's basically it, or fermented. So if you want to look at that, that's typically a high histamine food. But I have a whole chart for you. And then if you want to look at the next category, well, they're called histamine liberators. That's where beans fall into. And that means that if histamines are not high in your body, there's not a lot of histamine to liberate. So it's no big deal. But if histamines are high, then it can liberate that histamine, meaning it can make it more abundant. Okay, so that's the issue with beans. And then the last one is the DAO blockers. And so those would be things like teas, which are, again, a pitta-based food or beverage because it's more astringent. So hopefully that helps delineate and differentiate. And if you don't have that histamine-based list, definitely connect at cabralsupportgroup.com. Ask them for the podcast with the 3 different categories for histamines, and my team, I'm sure, would be happy to get you that. So hopefully this was helpful, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. I'll be back tomorrow answering 6 more of our community's questions. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the weekend.